have over 5,000 missionaries with Young Life all over the world. We're in 101 countries, and we're in every single state. And so our mission is to introduce kids to Jesus Christ and to help those who have already met Jesus to grow in their faith. And so we do that by kind of being what I like to explain is a bridge from the world to the church. We're a parachurch ministry, which means we are not the church. We are the hands and feet of the church that get to go into the public high schools and sometimes private high schools and middle schools and go and reach those kids that would never walk through a church, and some that maybe did but don't quite understand what it means to have a personal relationship with Jesus. So that's who we are. We're missionaries that go to our very own to continue to build the church right here in the U.S., and we do have several that go overseas as well. But my mission field is Punta Gorda High School, Punta Gorda Middle, which is Charlotte High and Middle School. And then now there's been some shift in ministry where I am over the mall ministry, which we have right here at Port Charlotte Mall Center. We have a center for kids, and they come to school, come over right after school, and they have a hot meal, and they have loving Christian adult leaders that are there to play ping pong with them, to help them with their homework, to walk them through heartaches. Let me tell you, the number of boyfriend-girlfriend breakups we've walked through. It's been a lot. But also to walk through some harder things. I don't know if you guys are aware, but in the past 2 weeks, we've lost 2 of our own children here. We lost one 2 weeks ago to suicide. And then we lost one last week because he was hit by a car. And he died at 14, almost 15, Keone. And he was one of the kids that came to the center and would skateboard like he wasn't supposed to around the parking lot at the mall, but then would come into the center too and hang out with his friends and eat and get an encouraging word and spend some time. I had the opportunity Friday, to speak with his mom, to pray with his mom, to hold his mom, who had just lost her son. And there's no Christian influence in that household. And we got to be the Christian influence, the way that he got to see Jesus. And so what we're doing is really, really important. It affects eternity, but we're able to do it because of you guys, supporting us and sending us out. So that's who we are, and what we do is love kids and walk with them right where they're at. Now, we're also shifting ministry now. They're asking us to go into Northport. And so as soon as we're able to raise the funds, we will be going into Northport as well and hiring some new staff to do that. So right now we are in Charlotte, Port Charlotte, Lemon Bay, about to start in Northport, and we're in all of the middle schools. And we have middle school ministry everywhere in the county. Now, very excited about middle school ministry because how many of you guys know middle schoolers are a whole different breed? My goodness, they are. So in Young Life, we call our middle school ministry Wildlife. Yep, that's the appropriate response. Absolutely the appropriate response. Middle schoolers are very, very different than high schoolers. And it takes a very special person. Stand up, Jordan. This is Jordan. He is our DFL staff who's over all things wildlife and middle school. And so he is training and learning and developing middle schoolers, which I'm so proud of. He is my daughter Dulce's wildlife leader. So that's Jordan. So I'll pull him up to speak in a minute, but so that's wildlife ministry as well. But how do we do this? Well, we do this by being sent. We do this by being sent financially. We do this by being covered in prayers. We do this with partnerships. And that's where you guys come to play. We need your prayers. We are literally walking into some of the darkest places in our nation. Our public high schools, the emptiness, the loneliness, that they feel. This is the first generation of high schoolers. This generation, where now we're 3 generations, God is so far removed unless they grew up in a Christian household. And this is not, let me reiterate, we're talking about our youth, our American youth, our in our neighborhoods youth, our kids, that unless you're telling them or I'm telling them, many times they have no idea that they were created by a loving God that has a purpose for their lives. No idea. 0 idea. They can tell you all about all kinds of other stuff. Let me tell you how information is not wisdom. But they have no idea that there is a God who loved them, came to earth, put on a Jesus suit, right? Walked into the neighborhood and died for them. They have no idea. I get to answer those kinds of questions, and I get to be the person who tells them that. But I also get to raise up teams of people who go with me into the schools and do the same. They show up at football games. They show up at practices, at track meets. Do you guys know how long track meets last? Lord. It's an all-day thing, is it not? I mean, it is. Weightlifting meets. If you have a kid that weighs 110 pounds on the weightlifting team and you have a kid that weighs 250 pounds on the weightlifting team, you can say goodbye to your day because you're there all day. But it's what we get to do. It's what we get to do. Because many times, those weightlifters, those wrestlers, those drama kids that you're painting sets with, that you're showing up to their choir practices for, don't have anybody else there for them. And that's how we get to show up and be Jesus to them. We get to show up and hold a sign that says, hey, go number 4. Let me tell you how I know nothing about American football. Nothing. I know there's like 4 downs and some touchdowns, and that's it. That's all I know. But I know a lot of football players, but I know a whole lot of cheerleaders. I know how to make braids, really pretty braids. I know how to put bows. I know how to make these great, amazing packages full of cookies for our football players that I couldn't tell you anything about their sport, but let them know that, hey, you know what? We love our football players. We love you, and we took the time to make you some cookies. We took the time to be here and cheer on your game and make you a sign full of glitter and all kinds of ridiculousness because there's nobody else cheering you on in the stands. Not because mom and dad don't necessarily want to, but the truth of the matter is a lot of times they're working. They're working hard, real hard, to try and get food on the table around here. Or they have grandparents, a lot of grandparents that are raising these kids. And so these are our stories. But we also get to have the stories of my friend Jordan. I'm going to tell, not this Jordan, another friend Jordan. I have my friend Jordan, who's not with us today. She's actually at her church. She came to camp with us last summer. And she grew up in a household where mom and dad split. They kind of tossed around the ideas of faith, but not much. But she spent every summer with her grandma Sunny. And Miss Sunny would drag her to church with her every Sunday, would drag her to church. And she spent all of her vacation time she would spend with Sunny in Alabama. And so she heard the gospel. But because life at home was a little bit different, she didn't really know how to connect it, right? And she would ask her grandmother questions, and her grandmother was a woman of prayer and of faith, and she learned a lot from Sunny. But she didn't know how to make that faith her own. Well, 2 weeks before summer camp, her grandma died, and Jordan was devastated. Sunny was her whole world. She spent every summer with her, every vacation, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. She just loved her grandma. She comes to camp with us, and I'm sitting with her in the pool, and we're talking tell me what you know about Jesus. And she starts telling me everything that she knows about Jesus and about her grandma, Sunny, and how Miss Sunny taught her and shared her faith and so on and so forth. And I said, so where's Sunny now? And she's like, oh, I know. My grandma's in heaven. I was like, oh, that's great. How would she feel about your faith? Where's your faith at? She goes, well, I haven't put my faith in Jesus. And I said, well, do you want to put your faith in Jesus? And she's like, that means I would be like my grandma Sunny. I would get to put my faith in Jesus like my grandma Sunny did. And I was like, well, what do you know about your grandma Sunny? Well, she's the kind of woman I wanted to be. She loved Jesus and she loved people. Right there in that pool, I got to pray with Miss Jordan. She received Jesus, and she's a cheerleader at school, and she's in all kinds of programs, but now she's walking with Jesus. And she's coming into the center, and she's telling me. And it was because her grandmother sewed into her, and I had the sweet privilege of helping her connect what her grandmother had already sewed. Have it come to fruition. It's one of many stories. It's right here, Port Charlotte High School. And this is what you guys are a part of. Do we have the video? Is it working? Do we know? Do we know? I just wanted to show you, Young Life does 5 things very well. We do club, which is a party with a purpose. We have a lot of fun things that happen on Monday nights. So Young Life Club. But we do camp really well. And this is the camp that we're going to. And this is where you guys have been helped to send kids before. But we're going to Carolina Point, and this is our camp video. So you can see where we're sending kids. Carolina Point. That's where we're going this year, and our hope is to take 55 high school students with us this year. And why do we do camp? Camp breaks down the barriers of everything that's going on in their world, takes them out of their world. They're able to actually create these lasting memories with their friends and with the leaders that walk with them through life right here, and open up and see, hear, and receive the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's it. That's what it's about. It's about doing whatever is necessary, becoming all things to all men that I might win some, right? Isn't that what the word says? And so I get to be a fisherman, but I get to be a fisherman because y'all send us. So with that said, I'm going to give you guys some ways you can get involved right here and know. You can get involved by giving, right? It's missionaries, right? You're aware of that. Missionaries, we need your funds to give. You can get involved by being on our prayer team. You can get involved by volunteering at the center. You can get involved by becoming a leader. Let me tell you, my very best volunteer young life leader is 72 years old. I am not kidding. Her name is Bonnie Fowler. She is 72 years old, and she is amazing. She is a wildlife leader. She teaches the gospel with grace and strength. She is consistency and love. The high school leaders that work with her with middle school, half the time would rather hang out with Bonnie than with me, because she just has this gentle, kind way about her. And the love of Jesus just spews out of her. 72 years old. So let me tell you, young life needs wise life, right? We need wisdom and strength and leadership that will go with us and hang out with our middle schoolers and our high schoolers. And lastly, you can get involved by being part of the gala. We're having a gala on April 4th. There is all of that information is on the back table. There's ways to give, there's ways to get involved in the gala, and there's ways to really get plugged in if you want. We have volunteer opportunities everywhere. And let me tell you, the harvest is ready, but the workers are few. So that's right here. So let me go ahead and introduce you to Jordan. Jordan, would you come up? We're going to do this interview style because Jordan does not love when I put him on the mic, but I'll help him out a little bit. Jordan, why don't you go ahead and tell them about Club on Friday night at the mall and what's going on?
Yeah, so like Jen said, I am our wildlife leader, and I have the privilege and honor to enter in our local middle school, Murdoch Middle School, which is literally down the street from Port Charlotte High and down the street from our mall center. So I have the privilege to interact and encounter, but most importantly, love and spread the good news of Jesus to these middle school kids. And like Jen said, middle school is a totally different atmosphere than high school. Like our name suggests, wildlife, middle schoolers are a little bit more wild, they're more rowdy, but I love our middle school. Clubs on Friday, they are our best clubs. This is how we get to spread the good news of Christ to our middle school students. And we also get to play fun games. We call them mixers. And we also get to sing songs and dance with them. Actually, our last club, last Friday, we had at least 10 students that came and got to hear the good news of Jesus.
One of those students is actually sitting here. She doesn't like to be pulled on the mic, and I won't make her do it. But club was Banana Club, and he pulled out this huge banana. When I say huge, I'm talking 5-foot long stuffed banana with a mustache. And it was Bart, because he was telling the story of blind Bart and how Jesus healed him. And but he did most of the games dressed as a banana himself. So you guys see Jordan. Imagine Jordan in a life-size banana suit. It was great, so great.
I was very sweaty at the end.
Yes,
that.
It was fun. It was fun. But he also got to talk to students about how Bart called out, "Son of David, have mercy on me," and how they can call out to Jesus. And Jesus, being who he is, the same yesterday, today, and forever, would hear their calls as they called out Jesus. And it was so much fun. It was Banana Club. They literally were eating bananas and running across the room. They were throwing banana candy. It was a mess. But it was worth it for the sake to hear about it. So that's Jordan. I'm going to pull up Lorenzo real quick. I'm going to put him on the spot, our high schooler. Lorenzo, would you please, he goes to FSW. He plays soccer for Charlotte High. He's a freshman. Why don't you go ahead and tell them a little bit about what you like about Young Life, why Young Life is important to you, how it's affected your friendships, so on.
So how it has affected me, it's given me a good environment to grow up in. There's not a lot of great influences other than people like her, and just everyone around. The average, I say, lifestyle that you would find in like the public high schools is not so much
Closer to you.
closer. Oh, sorry. Don't want to be too loud. So like the average lifestyle of a high school is not that, how do you say? It's not the best for you. There's a lot of things that go wrong and not the best ways to handle them. So it's not very, it doesn't help you. It doesn't help you grow. It doesn't help you get closer to God. And so that's what Young Life does for me. As it affects my friendships, it makes me meet people like our Young Life leaders, like Jordan, who help me grow. And also it helps me meet people from all other schools. Like I come from FSW, but I also know people from Port Charlotte. I know people from Murdoch. I know people from Charlotte High School, even though I don't get to interact with them other than Young Life. And so I get to create more and more friendships. And I get to learn more and more people's backstories and how they live life. And also, I get to enjoy like their time. Some of them are funnier than I am. Some of them are smarter. They help me with work. Some of them are just really passionate about certain things that I find fun. So it just gives me a good community to surround myself with and helps me grow while also learning how to help other people grow. That's what I really like about this place.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna ask if I can just to pray for you guys, and I don't know where your pastor went, but before I do that, I wanted to open it up to questions. I think we still have a little bit more time. Do we have a little bit more time? Yeah. Go ahead. So it costs us about $1,100 to take a high schooler to camp. Yeah, it does. Right now, we are selling camp at $4.99 because we've raised a lot of funds, and so we can sell camp at $500 instead of $1,100 to the kids. So right now, kids are having to put down a deposit of $100 and then do fundraising, or some parents can just write a check. In being in this area, you guys know we have very affluent parents. We have some parents who are like, oh, $1,200, no big deal. Few and far between. But we also have parents who are like, I can't even put groceries on my table this week. And so it costs that. Their responsibility is to put down the deposit, and then if they want to raise funds, we, the leaders, do a lot of fundraisers with them. It can be anything from yard work to egg and bags to at the gala we'll raffle off things that will go towards camp. And so it is pretty expensive, but it is guaranteed to be the best week of their life. And I have never in 10 years had a student go, I wish I didn't go. Never. So, any other questions?
I know you're doing clubs at the mall, right? That's
Yes.
where the clubs happen. What about middle school? Are they all there too, or is some of them still at school?
No, yeah. So Punta Gorda Middle, it's actually our largest middle school club, and they're at the school. There are 40 to 50 kids weekly there that are coming out, and yeah, and so they're still at the school, and then LA Angel and Sky are at school. The only ones that are not are Port Charlotte and Murdoch. They're at the center because it makes more sense for them to be together at the center, and all of those middle schoolers are walking around the mall anyways. There are over 300 middle schoolers walking around the Port Charlotte Mall on any given Friday. 3 unsupervised, getting into trouble. So they come into the center and they are supervised and they play banana games with us. So right now they are in one club, but we have 2 different ministries going on. So yeah, we're at the mall. Because we had to redo that because we had to have a big enough place that was okay for COVID. So we had to have a large enough area to do that, and the mall affords us that. And also, people don't want us in their homes bringing in 20 kids that could possibly have COVID, so we had to have a public facility that was sanitized, and we want to keep all of our people safe, so we do a co-school club there. So that's why we did that. Any other questions?
Yeah, speaking of the space at the mall, of course, we all read of the impending sale, auction, bankruptcy. What does that look like for you all?
So what that looks like for us is not a whole lot right now because we just signed a 3-year lease. And I think what people are not aware of is the big corner stores like Dillard's, Macy's, and Bell's, they own their place in the mall, okay? The rest of the mall is the mall facility. So in order for them to shut down the mall completely, it would have to buy out, whoever gets the mall will have to buy out those places. But that's not what looks like is in the works. It's been rezoned. I'm sure you guys are aware of that as commercial and residential area. And so there are lots of talks. The talks are that they are going to be building luxury apartments in part of it, and maybe up on top, kind of like we see. And so, I mean, it's pretty common in more metropolitan areas, but we should not be affected in the center for at least 3 years. 3 years, because no matter what they do, it's going to take a long time to do it, and so we're good. All of the other stores that are in the mall have also signed their leases. They're still there for another 3 years, so we're good. Any other? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so right now, because we're in transition, we're about to hire a new person there. It's just been hard to have stuff happen down that way because of COVID. So a lot of normally we do our clubs and stuff in students' homes, because the students in Charlotte have big enough homes, and they have always been our flagship club. And so, but because of COVID, we haven't been able to have clubs down there. But we do have Charlotte leaders that are specific to Charlotte. We do have Charlotte campaigners that are specific to Charlotte kids. So we have a leader right now, a part-time leader. His name is Jimmy Sella, who is running things down there. He's still going to games. He's still showing up for kids. Him and his team are still having small Bible studies down that way. Does that make sense? And so that's going on. It's just club on Monday nights. When we meet in big groups, we have to have a bigger area to do that. So we've been doing that at the center with them, and they've been coming on over. So, any other questions? No? Well, guys, can I pray for them, Pastor? Yes. Father God, I thank you so much for this amazing group of your children. God, I thank you for the ability to come and share what you're doing by your Spirit here in this area, in this part of Southwest Florida. God, I thank you that kids are hearing the gospel and that we're being sent by amazing churches like this, by your body. Father, I ask that your hand would be on each and every one of them, that they couldn't get away from your presence or your love or your blessings, that you would keep them healthy and safe. And Holy Spirit, would you speak to their hearts about how and what they are to do in getting involved in this mission, Lord? And we thank you for each and every one of them. And it's in Jesus' mighty name that we pray. Amen.
Thank you. So maybe you had a question that you didn't want everyone to hear. but you want to ask. So they'll be available back at the table back there. So let me encourage you to go back. That video is playing over and over and over. So if you want to sort of look at that and relive your youth or reminisce about the time when you actually could have done those things, but there's no way on earth you could do them now. That went through my head on a number of those things. Like, yeah, I might try it, but I would probably regret it. But it's a great way to engage youth. I was thinking, I love that wildlife. When I was starting seminary, I went to my pastor, and we were talking about ways in which I could engage at the church to be prepared to be a pastor. And he said, I know exactly what you need to do to figure out whether you're actually called to ministry or not. He said, I've got 60 7th and 8th graders, and they need a teacher. And so for a year, I taught 7th and 8th graders. If you want to know what ministry is like, that's the place to do it. All of those kids are now in their 40s, and they all have kids that are going to college now. But I still have connections with some of them, which is really amazing. And God is at work. He's at work through Young Life. As we saw a few weeks ago with the younger crowd. He's at work through Child Evangelism Fellowship. And so it's exciting for us to be able to be a part of that ministry. So please, if you'll all go back there and then just avail yourself of them, and if you have any questions. Thank you for coming today.